What is happening, y'all? Welcome back to a new episode of Young Bucks Outdoors podcast. And this week we continue our Working in the Outdoor Industry series, but we changed things up a little bit. I am actually getting thrown into the spotlight, and our boy Kendal McGuire is taking over the job of hosting. But I get to talk about my time as a wildlife filmmaker, photographer, and the world of media and communications as a whole in the outdoor industry. So I really hope you guys enjoy this one, and let's get after it.
Welcome, everybody. We're changing up the roles on this episode. I'm Kendal McGuire. I'll be your host for today. And now we have Austin Taylor, who hosts the podcast, is now our guest.
I'm in the hot seat.
There we go, Austin. So with YBO, tell everybody what you do, I guess, for us.
For the group? Well, I pretty much almost everything you see that gets posted, or the website or the podcast, most of a lot of the photography, pretty much any video, like the majority of the time, if you see something coming off of our group, I probably have a good hand in that. The photography is kind of a mix because I can't always be out when, let's say, for example, you're out turkey hunting the last couple of years. I'm not there to take a picture of you getting your turkey or something like that. So you'll take pictures with your phone. And so those kind of pictures you guys get. But when I get to go along, I like to take my camera and get the really nice, like, sexy looking pictures of all the guys and make us.
You're not just using an iPhone to take pictures. You're using an actual nice high-end photography camera.
Yeah, no, I use the DSLRs. I'll sometimes use my phone for kind of that quick, easy, pull it out of your pocket, snap. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, for all the shutter bugs out there, I'm actually kind of a low-end DSLR, like the beginner level. But the cameras I have done just fine for what I need them to do. So I don't have the money to be upgrading. So I'm like, you know what? I'm sticking with what I got. So
that's just good. We've all seen your work. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I try. So I take a lot of like the more high-end pictures. Pretty much if we do a video, that's more often than not, that's me. Unless one of you guys do some little recorder for your phone and just post it. But I'm the guy that's going in and actually posting the more professional YouTube content. I manage our YouTube page, our Facebook, our Instagram. The podcast was kind of my brainchild, and I pretty much host and produce that. When Keaton, especially, I think you mentioned it a little bit, but trying to get the website, do a website and everything.
Like we've been wanting to get a website going, hopefully share our stories, sell some merch, and we've never really been like putting our mind to it until just recently.
Yeah, well, yeah, and so Keaton, or you guys, but Keaton really got the ball rolling, and he like logged into Wix, which is a website designer. And he was asking me some questions, and I went in and I kind of looked at it, and I was like, you mind if I play with this a little bit? And I ended up just completely redesigning it. And I was like, all right, dude. So I did go in, but if you don't like it, I can totally go back. And he goes in, looks at it, he's like, bro, this is badass. So we stuck with the design I went with. And
so what you got, what our audience sees on the page is what you have done.
For the most part. We have our blog too, which Keaton and I both can easily go in. I think any of the guys can. I can't remember honestly, but I think any of the guys can kind of go in and mess with the blog. But we haven't done the best with the blog stuff. But for the most part, if there's a complaint or a compliment with the website, it's more likely than not coming to me because I'm the one taking care of a lot of that.
Exactly.
Yeah, like the podcast was a big one too. That I had never done a podcast until recently with us, and that was a big learning lesson. I thought it was going to be as simple as record with. I have like some cheap mics that I use my cameras, so I kind of plugged those in and tried to record a little bit. I thought it'd be as easy as go post that, but then when I started looking out there in the market of podcasting stuff, oh crap, a lot of these websites are charging, and half of them charge way more than I'd like to pay. And I don't want to see if I don't want to try to get you guys paying. So through the website, I actually found a way of posting podcasts, but I had to do it manually. So if I was late on posting, like it wouldn't do it for me.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, so there's a way you can add like music libraries on the Wix website, but you can't like schedule things to post at certain times. And my biggest problem was I'm trying to get the podcast going every Wednesday at noon is when I try to get it posted. I want it to stay consistent so people aren't thinking, wow, this is really random. I want people to be able to go in and be like, oh, they should have a new episode live this week. What did they post? Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay, they're talking about this.
So you're physically having to go on your computer and at 12 o'clock on Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be honest. I've not been so picky about it because originally I was only doing that because I was like, I don't want to pay for podcasting. So I was posting to YouTube, and then I was like, I can post it to our website. But if you post to YouTube, you can't turn your phone off and just listen to it. You have to have your phone on. And I'm like, I don't like that. I want people to be able to plug in or have Bluetooth or whatever and just listen to it if they're driving or they're walking or doing whatever.
Makes it a lot more convenient for them.
Exactly. And so YouTube was kind of like, okay, it's there, but I don't expect people to go through YouTube for it. Then I tested it with the website. Okay, you can do all that, but it just won't schedule. So I was like, okay, well, I want this to happen, so I'll do the work, but I don't know if I'm going to be consistent with posting it at that time. And what if I'm out of town, or what if I don't have internet? You know, all these other factors start playing in. But luckily, I found a website called Anchor, and Anchor was free. They're like, we only make money if you make money, kind of thing. And you're like, yes. And they distribute to all the different podcasting sites for you. I'm like, dude, yes.
Now anybody can listen to it.
Yeah. So you can find it on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Anchor is like the hub. And then there's a bunch of random ones I've never heard of. But yeah, that was part of it too, was when I went to Spotify, I thought I could just go to Spotify, start a podcast on there, upload through there. No. It's like, oh, start a podcast, enter your RSS feed. I'm like, what the hell is an RSS feed? I've never heard of that. I start looking it up. Oh, this is what you need to have to be able to distribute this kind of stuff. I'm like, shoot. And that's when I started looking at the different websites.
Yeah.
So yeah, the podcast was a huge learning lesson. But now that I've done it, it's like, dude, sweet. Now I have that little tool in my my pocket that I can use down the road, hopefully. But yeah, so the podcast was stepping out of my comfort zone. Videos, last few years, I haven't really been around Kansas as a whole, where all of us are basically based. I've been down in Corpus, so videos I haven't done as much. But what?
Explain to everybody that, so everybody knows you're the media guy. Explain to everybody what your education is in. And explain what your major is and how you got into that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, like I had mentioned, I was in Corpus, but I was in Corpus because I was going to Texas A&M University of Corpus Christi. And inevitably, when I went down there, I was actually looking into marine biology. And prior to moving down there, I had a camera. Actually, I had borrowed my sister's camera for a while. And then before long, I used it enough where I was like, okay, I need to upgrade to my own camera. So I got my own, and she doesn't use hers really at all. So I was like, can I use it? So now I have two cameras. But yeah, I would just shoot. I shot pictures for fun. I did a few little videos and I posted them on YouTube, but I wasn't trying to become like YouTube famous or anything like that.
Like a just for fun kind of deal.
Yeah, it was completely a hobby, right? And I had no intentions of this is my career going forward. But I went down to Corpus and I had the idea of marine biology when I looked at the school, but I took one freaking chemistry class at Butler, where we all went, Butler Community College. And I instantly realized, I was like, oh no, I can't do this. Like, I looked it up. To be a biology major, you need like 5 or 6 credits or 5 or 6 courses of chemistry. And all of them are harder than Chem 1. And Chem 1, I was dumber than a rock. So I was like, I don't think that's going to work. But I realized Corpus was where I wanted to go. So I went down there completely, I wouldn't say completely lost. I knew that was the school for me. I just had no idea what I wanted to do. I was like, I felt the urge to go down there, but it was what's next. And
exactly.
And yeah, so I did 1 semester of finishing up my core stuff, and I found a degree that was titled Communications with Emphasis in Media Production. And initially, I didn't want to do some sort of film or photo degree because it's like, that's so specialized. I want a degree that's broad. And when I was looking at the communications one, though, it was like, yeah, this can get you into marketing, advertising, public relations, film, like it. The range of jobs was very similar to your degree, where you could kind of take this one general industry, but there are so many jobs in it. And I was like,
option.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted that diversity under my belt. So I took I think it was Intro to Media Production, my first class in the production side of it. That one class, I was a couple weeks in and I was like, yep, this is it. This is my career right here. Like, I instantly knew. I was like, every other class I've taken was always I have to go to school. I have to go to class. This was today's class. Let's go do stuff, let's go make movies. So I realized pretty fast it was the media production outlet was for me. And so yeah, I spent a couple of years down there and got my degree in that. And it's given me the options to go into marketing and film and photo and social media and digital media and all these other aspects, which has helped me with the YBO group of doing all these different things. If it was a film degree, I would basically be able to do the videos for our group and be like, all right, that's about as much as I can do, which isn't bad, but it was kind of like we want to do more as a group,
Yeah, exactly.
So being able to have all these other skills to work with and be able to hopefully push our group forward was definitely like a huge positive for me. So
good. So with your filmmaking, have you won any types of awards or entered your videos in to any, I guess, like competitions or whatnot?
Yes. Yeah. I've had a few short films that have gone on and gone into some film festivals. I haven't been in any film festivals that are like real big. I kind of have my scale of, here's your big top dog kind of film festivals, and then it kind of goes down to the smaller ones. I've mostly been in the smaller ones, but I'm still a young filmmaker, so I'm not discouraged by it. But yeah, I've been very fortunate, and actually very recently, I won Best Short Documentary at a film fest not too far from Corpus. So that was a big deal. And I know you're about to ask me like, oh, did you beat anybody special at that one?
Hey, first, explain what was the video about?
So this one was about a buddy of mine down in Corpus, and he loves hip hop music and rap and all that stuff. And he was always kind of one of those people that got pushed to the side because he didn't have the right look, and with that, it kind of made him really appreciate like, hey, sometimes people don't always fit the part or fit the mold, but they're some of the most talented people you ever know or stuff like that. So he started a club that was all about promoting people of all art forms, music, painting, drawing, film, photo. Even there was a guy in their group that asked to join, and he's like, hey, is cooking an art? And he's like, yeah, dude, that's your own kind of art. And so he had a guy that joined that was a chef and everything. And so, yeah, I did it to kind of promote him and the work he's doing and the organization as a whole.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was pretty cool. And one of the films I got to beat at the Rockport Film Fest was a film called American Ocelot. And it's by one of my all-time favorite filmmakers. And they were actually one of the key inspirations into getting me into filmmaking as a whole. Like prior to moving down to Corpus, I was just making fun little videos. I wasn't trying to make movies or films or whatever. I was just doing videos for fun of us hunting, fishing, being stupid, whatever. Like one of my favorites is when we did a whole bit before we actually went pheasant hunting about, oh, we're going duck hunting. No, we're rabbit hunting, all this stuff. And so I did that crap for fun, man. I wasn't trying to take a career with that. But yeah, there's a guy who did something called the Wild Film Tour or the Wild Texas Film Tour, one of the others. But his name was Ben Masters. And he went around the state of Texas with this little short film tour thing that he put on of some films he's done or other films of people he just known or groups that he's worked with that was all about promoting wildlife and conservation and responsible use of the earth, I guess, amongst or within Texas. And there was a couple films that he did, dude, like full on. I was sitting there and my mouth was like gaping open. I was like, dude, that is epic. He took this genre that is typically for most people, myself included many times, a lot of people are like, oh, documentary isn't always the most interesting. And he made it like freaking interesting to me. I was like, dude, these films are cool. And like I said, I went down there for marine biology. So I was very big into wildlife and conservation and the outdoors and stuff like that. So when I saw that, you can make films like this for a living, I was like, sign me up.
Yeah.
That's epic. So yeah, he was a big inspiration into me getting into filmmaking. And then inevitably I got to beat him recently with that film, which was pretty epic. But one of the other films that I've had some success with, and this aligns more with the outdoor industry stuff, I guess, is something called A Few Feet Away. It's a little 4-minute project that initially there was no plans for this to actually be a film. I don't know if you knew that or not. This was back when COVID really kind of started kicking in and everybody was just at home sitting around doing nothing, right?
Yeah.
So living down in Corpus in March or April is when I worked on this project. But in Corpus, it doesn't really get cold. Like there's a reason bugs and wildlife and stuff thrive so much down there is because they don't have to worry about big, hard winters that are going to kill them. So I was just, sitting around the house a lot, and me and my roommate were sometimes sitting there and I'd look out the window. I'm like, oh, look, it's a lizard. Oh, look at that cool little butterfly. Like, all these random little animals that I was looking right out my back window at. And so, I had my camera and I was like, shoot, I might just go out there and shoot some stuff. And it went from the first day I went out for a few hours and I was just playing around, filming some stuff, taking some pictures with this little macro adapter for my lens. And 2 weeks later, now I have a pile of footage from 2 weeks of shooting during the day, shooting during the night of lizards, spiders, butterflies, bees, ants, ladybugs, like literally
everything.
Oh my God. Yeah. And literally 90% of my footage, there's a little bit that was shot up on the fence that was right back behind my apartment. But 90% of the footage was basically shot in these bushes that were directly like next to my back door. And so I had this friggin' pile of footage that I was sitting on that was cool. And I was like, you know what? I'll cut together like a little cinematic video of it. And I posted it and I was like, okay, that was cool. But then I started looking amongst some of like the film festivals, and there's a lot of film festivals started posting things that were like, hey, we're going to do a quarantine film fest or a COVID film fest or categories for films made in quarantine or during COVID or all this other stuff. I was like, dude, how epic would that be to be able to do one of these, but do like a full on nature documentary from quarantine? Like everybody else was probably going to do some apocalyptic, it's scary, cool, COVID. I was like, dude, I want to make a full ass nature documentary from my back door. So I filmed some other stuff and then I did voiceover for it and started submitting to some festivals. And at this point, I've now been in 3 festivals as just a selectee. And then I've earned a semi-finalist and an honorable mention. Oh, I think one of those festivals had an outstanding achievement award, but I also got honorable mention and a semi-finalist awards. So, I mean, that little 4-minute film actually bounced around a lot more than I thought it would. It's not anything crazy. Most people probably haven't heard of it, but it had a lot more success than I thought. And it was a complete BS project. I was just like, this will be fun.
That just makes me wonder what would happen if you actually put your mind to it and like, okay, I'm going to submit this to a film and I'm going to make it the best I can possibly be.
Dude, for real. Like I can't tell you how many times I've actually taken and sat down and go, damn, I wonder if I committed way more time. And what if I didn't even just shoot in this one bush? What if I went and bounced around different places? So like, what if I shot there in Corpus at my apartment? What if I came back to Kansas, shot there? What if I went to other friends? And it's just like, oh, all the little nature that sits right beneath our feet, all that. I feel like I could have made something pretty epic if I really went a little bit harder on it. But I mean, hey, it's cool to know that like, I'm not saying I didn't work hard on it, but it is cool to know that I somewhat BS'd it and it still did pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I guess, do you have anything you'd like to add on? Any of the topics we've talked about today or?
Well, yeah. I guess I could talk about the North Carolina internship.
Yeah, exactly. You had the internship. Go ahead and explain.
Okay. So similar to, last episode, we talked to you about, your internship. It was kind of, I don't think I was required to do an internship, but you could get credit for it. So why not go do an internship, hopefully get a paid job and get your credit rather than just one more class. I was like,
okay. Get the experience.
I was like 3 credits of working for a few months and getting paid sounds way better than sitting in a classroom and possibly reading a book or something.
Exactly.
So I think it was creeping up on the end of my junior year, similar to you. Oh no, yours was the year before. It was Keaton that was the same summer as me.
Yeah.
But it was creeping on my junior year. I started, going through all the different outlets to look for internships. And I was applying all over the place. One of the internships I applied to that I'm a little bummed I didn't get, but if I would have gotten this, I would not have done what I did. But it was an internship for like a photography thing up in Wyoming. So yeah. And so that never heard back from them, but it's whatever. But yeah, no, I was just, throwing my name all over the place for internships. And I came across this one in North Carolina called a wildlife videographer / communications intern. And it was with the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, which, for both me and you, we come from Kansas, which is the Parks and Wildlife here is essentially the Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks and Tourism. Texas is Texas Parks and Wildlife. So for me, it was like North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. What is that? And the more I looked into it, I was like, oh, I guess that's their Parks and Wildlife. But dude, a wildlife videographer job, come on, dream.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah, that's awesome.
Dude, oh, it's a dream, right? So I was like 99% sure I would not get this job. I literally threw my name in the hat purely out of I need to maintain my own self, whatever it's called. Essentially, I don't want to have regrets about it, right?
Yeah.
I applied.
You applied. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Exactly. But I refused to let myself sit back later on and go, damn, what if I would have applied for that job and got it,
Yeah.
So I refused to let that happen. And so I threw my name in the hat, and I literally, once I clicked apply, within 5-10 minutes, I kind of just forgot about it. It was like, all right, well, never hearing back from that company. Yeah. It's just kind of one of those moments that you're like, dude, there's a reason certain dreams are out there, because they help you to aspire to something, but you don't always expect yourself to get there, because you do set, like, if you set your dreams high enough, sometimes it's like, oh, am I ever going to hit that point?
Yeah.
So this was kind of one of those, is to get paid to be filming wildlife, stuff like that. Like, it'd be cool. And that was part of the reason I got into filmmaking, was this one filmmaker who did wildlife and conservation film. So, it was a dream job. And so I kept applying for other positions. And next thing you know, I think it was a couple weeks later, 1-2 weeks later or something like that, I get an email. Hi, Mr. Taylor, we'd like to sit down and have a little phone interview. And my mouth, I straight up, I read it and my mouth just dropped, like, no way. I was like, not true at all. I'm being punked, man. Who's screwing with me? So the time came and I did my interview, and I thought it went decent, but in no way did I do that interview and walked away going, oh, dude, that job is mine. It was one of those interviews of like, all right, well, that was cool. If I get it, cool. If not, well, oh, well, so a couple days later, they email everybody and said, hey, we're actually having to fill out some paperwork. Nothing on your guys' end. We just need a couple more days before we have our final decision. And so my brain's like, okay, sounds good. And I think within the hour, I got a call and they're like, hey, actually, we're offering you the position. My brain started going, like, no friggin' way, dude. Like, oh my God, I started freaking. I tried to remain calm on the phone, and I know inevitably my boss for the job, she told me later on, dude, she was not ready for me. She wasn't prepared enough for me to be instantly like, yes. She was like, we're like, typically people that you will sometimes get the offer and then they're like, all right, you can have time to think about it or whatever and get back with us. And she's like, yeah, we're going to offer you the internship and, you can have some time to think about it. I was like, no, it's okay. I accept. I was like, give me the job, dude. I don't need time. And so she's like, that's awesome. I wasn't prepared for you to jump on that fast. I'm like, I'm sorry. Come on, man. So yeah, I finished out the school year and I drove back up here to Kansas, grabbed some stuff, dropped some stuff off, and then drove out to North Carolina, spent a couple months out there. Dude, like, when I say dream, it was literally exactly how you said it for years. Paid vacation.
Yeah.
First couple weeks was more or less getting your feet grounded in how things worked and, just that whole, this is the agency, this is how we're going to do things. Here's some training for you. Here's some stuff you have to finish filling out. But after kind of the first 2 weeks, it literally got to the point where my boss would come tell me, or she'd email me, hey, such date, you're driving to such location, meeting up with doctor, such or biologist or game warden or whatever. And you're going to go film the research. You're going to go film this. You're going to film that. So I literally, for a couple months, drove around the state of North Carolina, filmed stuff. Then I'd come back to the office and edit for a few days, then do it over again. I think every single week I was driving somewhere and then I was editing. And then, so it was a perfect mix because I essentially you'd go out and wear yourself out from filming wherever you're going to the point that you're like, oh, okay, I kind of want to go back and just be able to enjoy the office for a couple of days, sit there and not do anything. And then you're in the office for a few days. And you're like, okay, I need to go, man. And
you got like the full spectrum.
Oh yeah. And it was, yeah. And I filmed some of the lower end things, I guess, were like mussel surveys in this one particular river, bat surveys. I filmed venomous, well, I'll get to that one. So like there were some of the lower end things I was filming, or the fish hatcheries by the state, which even those, like, they weren't that crazy, but they were still pretty epic. So like the mussel surveys was in a river. So I had to wear my swimsuit to work that day. And then we're hiking through the river. But the worst part was I'm carrying all this gear from the commission. And I'm like, please don't let me fall in the river. Don't let me fall in the river, dude. Not even joking, I did actually screw up a GoPro that day.
How's that?
There's like a little trapdoor thing that you would put on or take off to water seal it, or you could take it off to plug a mic in or other things. Gotcha. I forgot to close that, stuck it straight in the river multiple times a day. It worked the whole time I was out there. And then by the end of the day, I realized, oh no, it was open. And this was before GoPros were like waterproofed to a few feet on the actual camera.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I got a hold of my boss. I'm like, I screwed up, man. But I did the rice trick. For anybody who doesn't know the rice trick, you pull your camera apart, you stick it in a big old bag of rice. It has worked for me so many times. There was one time I went out.
You fixed that GoPro?
Yeah. No, she was like, oh, honestly, dude, it's not a big deal. Like, it's no worries. I had it with me. I was like, you know what? Let me try the rice trick. She's like, the rice trick? I was like, yeah, you stick it in a bag of rice it sucks some moisture out of the camera or something.
Yeah.
If you catch it in time. If it's like been destroyed by the water by way too long, at a certain point, it's like you can't win it back. But if you jump on it as fast as possible, and she's like, the rice trick? I'm like, yeah, well, I'll try it. But I was like, dude, I feel so bad. She's like, dude, it's fine. I come back to work on Monday. I was like, guess what? She's like, what? It works. She's like, you are shitting me. I'm like, no, dude, it works. I was like, the rice trick. She's like, huh?
I said, it's the rice trick.
Dude, it's the rice trick. No, and it's actually saved one of my DSLRs. Like, remember, it was me, you, Clayton, Keaton, Caleb, and we went out to, I think that was like the marsh out by McPherson or something like that. This was years ago. And I wasn't hunting. I just took my camera, and it started raining on us when we were heading back to the car.
That's right.
Yeah. You remember how my camera was on my backside and the rain was coming in on the backside? I totally forgot. And we were like half a mile down this road, and I'm like, no. And I pulled around. My camera was drenched, dude. But I took it home. I took the battery out. I bust open that compartment. I took off the lens. I like opened it up as much as I possibly could, stuck it in a bag of rice. It still works to this day. So, but
you're like a camera doctor.
What's up?
Said you're like a camera doctor.
I try, man. But no, yeah. So there was like the lower end stuff. The bat survey was pretty cool, but then it got really epic on some of the stuff I got to do, where I went out and I was on during the 4th of July Day weekend. I got to go out and tag up with some of the local game wardens and do boat patrols with them. So basically, I filmed an episode of Cops on the Water. And it is actually, if you go look, it's their second highest viewed video of all time. They have over 50,000 views on it. I'm like, yo, what's up?
That's pretty exciting to say that, hey, I made that video.
Yeah, dude. It's cool. Well, it's fun because it's like, oh, that's an intern's video. That's not even like some eyeballer that works for him. That's an intern. But no, I got to do that. I went for a couple of days. We went to the coast and I filmed some of the trapping and research they did with alligators. We didn't get any big ones while I was out there. They were all like smaller ones, but just doing all that was friggin' awesome. The venomous snake training with the wardens was kind of cool. But that, out of everything I did, like, and I got to, like, the alligator stuff got a little sketchy at times, but even then, nothing was as bad as filming the venomous snake handling class, because it was like the new class of game wardens was coming in, and they were starting to go through all their like technical stuff. And one of them was they go and they're taught, how do you handle a venomous snake? Because as a game warden, they get called to go deal with that kind of thing. So they bring in a snake expert, and I kid you not, this dude just started dropping rattlesnakes, and there was coppermouth, I think. Was it coppermouth? Copperhead or a cottonmouth. It was a gnarly one. But he just starts dropping these venomous ass snakes, and they were like, they didn't have their venom glands removed or anything. Like, these guys, if they bit you, you're in trouble. And so all the game wardens were up in seats. There was a game warden and the state snake biologist that were around the edges with their own hooks, and then the one guy. But my dumb ass was down on the floor filming. I had to get that low angle. And the rattlesnakes, actually, he let them out, and they were pretty calm. Like, they just kind of sat there and they'd slither around a little bit. But it was I think a cottonmouth or whatever. That thing was pissed off. It was in the process of molting or something, which I guess makes snakes way more agitated. And his eyes were like glazed over with either a whitish color or a bluish color. So he looked like a damn demon, man. And before he came out of the bag, his teeth were coming through the bag. Like, this thing was not happy. So when he dropped him on the floor, it was already trying to strike people. Yeah. And my hands got all clammy, and I looked at the wardens behind me. I was like, here in 2 seconds, I might be hopping up in your lap. And the guy that was sitting there, he's like, I got you, buddy. So, yeah, dude, I got to go do some pretty sweet stuff there. I also went out to the mountains and filmed the elk that live out there, a trout survey, which was really cool. They were using electrofishing to bring the trout out. I went and filmed some like bear trapping, like for research, but unfortunately we didn't get any bears in the 2 times I went out there, or the 2 little trips I did. But saw a couple bear releases during the alligator one, got to film those. Those were freaking awesome. Shorebird surveys, where we actually went out to some of the islands that was off limits from the public, but because we were with the state and we were there for research purposes, we got to go see them. And it was a whole ass nesting site. It's straight up, I walk over this little sand dune, and hundreds, if not thousands of brown pelicans and their babies were in this area. And it was straight up a scene out of National Geographic. I was like, oh my God, I'm at National Geographic now.
Yeah, that's funny.
But
you definitely spent a lot of time with all sorts of wildlife.
Oh my God, dude. It was cool because part of it too is, yeah, I was an intern, but at a certain point, it felt more like I was an intern in the sense of learning how a state organization worked and working amongst these other departments. But like when it came down to the video stuff, everybody in the commission would like come to me for advice. And even my boss, when I got there, she's like, honestly, you probably know more about filmmaking and editing, all that, than I do. It's just learning this other aspect that I really appreciated. And I did get to do a couple little like TV spot like commercials for the agency too, which was pretty sweet. So it's cool to put those under your portfolio of, I did these little 10, 15 second and a 30-second ads for the commission. And like, they were actually going to be aired on some stuff. So
everybody can say that, man.
What's up?
So not everybody can say that they did something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that, like I said, man, dream internship, or as you put best, it was a paid vacation. Yeah. So North Carolina was very, very pretty. I did not expect what I had no way of expecting what I got to do out there. So,
yeah.
But
so, with everything you've done now, what do you see yourself doing in the future?
Well, in the immediate future, I'd like to have a nice stable job and actually put money in my bank because, well, college is expensive, and I am broke as hell. And so it'd just be nice to get a little bit. But I mean, even with that, I've been applying for jobs within the outdoor industry, doing like video stuff or working in the marketing departments of different groups. I've also applied for a number of kind of marketing and or video production agencies that do a diverse range of working on different projects. But
yeah,
I mostly just want to get the experience right now. But inevitably, where I want to get it is I want to have my own video production agency one day, and more or less do kind of like branded content as a way to pay the bills, and then make my own movies. Like, just the few movies I've gotten to work on so far has made me want to just keep doing it, So
do you want to do anything with the outdoors, or do you want to strictly create your own kind of deal?
For like, if I do a media production company or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would love to work with like outdoor brands. If you talk to any kind of creative, most are going to tell you they have kind of a style, I guess, or they have a niche that they really fit in really well. So, I mean, for me personally, from the experience I have and also my interests, I fit a lot better in stuff like wildlife filmmaking or the outdoor industry or outdoor branded content or stuff like that. Would I be good at making a Hallmark movie? Probably not, because it just doesn't fit, what I'm interested into in my, like, I guess, knowledge base. But if I started
kind of interested in something, you're not going to be putting your best effort into it because that's
exactly. I mean, there are certain projects I would like to do that may not be in my interest, but I want to do them out of like, that'd be cool to try them out. Like, for example, the feature film I got to work on this last summer. That was it was a horror film. And for anybody who knows me, they know I'm not a horror movie kind of guy. I've never been interested. I don't like being jump scared. Kendal and I lived together for a little while, and he knows how to push my buttons, but that was one of them. I don't like people jumping out at me, but I worked on it though, and it was truly one of the most pleasant, unexpected surprises I've ever done, because of all I've learned from it and how much more respect I have for that genre. So I'd like to do other stuff, but.
So if somebody had the same interest as you as photography and videography, media, and they have not a whole lot of help, and they'd be willing to get into that. What kind of advice and help would you suggest to them that are getting into media and videography and photography?
First and foremost, you do not need the best gear. I've heard way too many people say, "Oh, if you don't have the top of the line stuff, you're not going to do well," right? Like I had told you, I have a couple DSLRs that are considered like the low end. Like, if you look at Canon DSLRs, mine are in the beginner DSLR category. And yet I have shot multiple films that have actually gone on and won at festivals or have won awards at different festivals. So I don't like bragging like, "Oh yeah, I'm winning stuff," but I do love being able to take and say, "Look, most of those awards were won on the backs of like these cameras. I didn't need the biggest top of the line gear." And if there were certain situations that I wasn't sure how to do something, or my gear wouldn't be able to handle it, you find a way around it. You learn, you keep going. So the biggest thing is just pick up whatever camera you have and just go shoot. There's just too many people out there that think, "Oh, if I don't have this camera, I can't do it." The very first, the very first picture I ever took it planted that seed in my brain of, I think I could take pictures was I had an iPhone 4 and me, my mom, my sister were in Hawaii, and we were on a whale watching tour, and this one whale was swimming toward us, and it came up out of the water. And based off what people had said, if you see the hump of a humpback whale, which is what we were looking at, that means they're about to dive and the tail is going to come out of the water. So I registered that. It came up, took a breath, its hump popped up, and I'm like, oh, here we go, dude. I set up and I just waited. And sure enough, that tail perfectly arced out. I took the picture with my camera or my phone. And, looking back, I look at that picture and it's not the greatest quality at all. Like, it's, in retrospect, there's a lot about that picture that I don't like. But it was one of those pictures that I was like, whoa, dude, I just took something that I feel lives up to what some other people I've seen are out there. And that's just with my phone. Or I took something decent enough. Like, it wasn't just a picture of the water with a little spurt of the whale taking a breath, or it was something substantial to me, I guess. So
Yeah.
it wasn't big, bad ass camera. It was just a cell phone, but it put that spark in my head. And after that, I just kept going. And I went to, my mom had an old point and shoot camera. She gave that to me. I actually have a couple pictures back from one of our first turkey hunting trips back when I was still a brand new hunter. You guys were like, let's learn how to spring turkey hunt, which is very discouraging as a brand new hunter because you're like, dude, this sucks. Hunting's hard. And you guys are like, dude, turkey's tough. But I have a couple pictures from that, just from a little point shoot, that to this day that I like look at, I'm like, dude, those aren't half bad, man. Like, for old little crappy point shoot, like, those are decent. So the main thing is just pick up a camera and start, man. And from there, just keep shooting, keep practicing, learn as much as you can. Like, if you're one of those people that's stubborn and think, oh, I'm going to figure it all out on my own and I don't need anybody's help, or I can do everything on my own, or I need, whatever, you've already shot yourself in the foot and it's not going to work. Like, this industry as a whole is based around being able to learn and push yourself and force yourself to do things that aren't always so comfortable. Like my photography, yesterday, it was like negative 15 degrees here in Wichita, Kansas. And my mom and my stepdad came with me, but we drove an hour north because there was snow on the ground. And I was pretty sure there was snow on the ground north of us where we wanted to go, to a small state game refuge here in Kansas called Maxwell Game Refuge. And my whole mission was to try to go get bison in the snow. And we drove an hour north. And when we first got there, it was not looking good. And like, oh no, all the bison we can see are way off in the distance. Like, I don't know about this. But inevitably, some came close. And I have some of my absolute brand new favorite wildlife pictures I've ever taken just from that experience yesterday. But that was because I forced myself to get out of my comfort zone. And I could have stayed home, stayed warm, and man, 2 hours round trip for maybe will I get a picture that's a lot, but
it's paid off. Disciplining yourself and staying motivated and being dedicated.
100%. It's doing things that the next guy won't do, and learning as much as you can, and just forcing yourself to constantly get better, improve, and like you've said before, don't let people try to tell you, oh, you can't do that. I mean, in all fairness, dude, I would be well in my rights to go back and look at all my first videos and pictures I took and say, dude, these were not good. Like right now, you are not a good photographer. You're not a filmmaker. But it was because of those early ones that I'm now where I'm at in my ability. So always just keep going, man. So,
yep. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we finish this podcast, Austin?
I don't know. Can't think of anything right now.
I think we covered all the basis of you as a videographer and a media guy and a big part of YBO.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'll let you end this one, Austin. You're used to being the podcast host, so I'm going to let you finish this one off.
All right. Well, thank you guys for all listening to this episode. And Kendal, thank you for kind of taking charge on this one. I thought about recording this episode just all by myself, but I figured it'd be more entertaining to talk to somebody about it. And I'll probably do more episodes down the line, just on my own, where I actually get to talk about some of my techniques or some of the more technical side of things. But as of right now, thank you everybody for jumping on here. And Kendal, thank you again for tagging up with us and helping out with this episode. So much appreciated.
It was a fun one, and I was glad to be a part of it.
Well, I appreciate it, buddy. So we'll see you on the next one, and I hope everybody has a great day.